quickly before we begin, I have many videos discussing why Bastion needs a rework and what they could do to fix him, including my #reworkBastion in movement, so if you're interested in that too, check it out. Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the ironic consequences of Blizzard nerfing Rocket Punch's charge time, as well as the reasons for why Blizzard is and has been taking the hero in a direction that is worse for both Doom players and people fighting him. I'll then finish by offering ways by which that direction can be altered to be better for both parties. So for anyone who doesn't know, Doomfist recently got his shield gain from his passive reduced from 35 to 30, and the time for his Rocket Punch to charge to full increased from 1 second to 1.4 seconds. Now, the shield nerf is honestly not that big of a deal on its own, but it does present some issues when paired with the truly problematic nerf, the punch nerf. Now, I know that much of the Overwatch community is cheering over the nerfing of the ability, but any good Doomfist player will tell you that all Blizzard has done here is ironically only further incentivize spamming punch for one-shots and trading. Well, because nerfing the charge time not only has the consequence of making the ability easier to avoid, but also nerfs Doom's mobility. Now again, you may be saying, well, good. But what a lot of non-Doomfist players don't realize is that Doomfist being highly mobile is what makes him good at things other than spamming punch. Rocket Punch is also Doomfist's primary mobility tool, and by nerfing its charge time, you make using other strategies like rollouts and combos only that much less effective or even worth it. So I'll just state it again. All this nerf will do is make Doom players spam the punch more. Now, this isn't the first time that Blizzard has done this. Last year, Blizzard also nerfed Doomfist's E-ability Seismic Slam. What they did is reduce its maximum range from 20 meters to 15, and this too heavily nerfed his mobility. Before that nerf, Doomfist players largely focused on rollout and combo-based strategies, as they had the range on Slam to jump in, combo an enemy, and then use punch to get out. This was the strategy roughly used 70% of the time. Meanwhile, punch was only sometimes used for getting kills or even doing damage at all, because it was safer and more efficient to use it as a mobility tool. After the nerf to Slam's range, however, there was a shift away from using rollouts and combos for kills in favor of a more punch-centric playstyle, in which players would use the ability to get roughly 60% of their kills. Meanwhile, his other abilities were used more for mobility and escaping, and rollouts and combos were only efficient or even effective the other 40% of the time. That was only made worse when Slam was nerfed so that it no longer allowed him to use it to move up slopes, as that was key to performing many of his rollouts. Now we get to the punch nerf. On top of the engagement method in the form of Slam already having its mobility reduced, we now have the disengagement method in the form of punch having its mobility nerfed as well. What this means is that rollouts and combos are far less effective than they even were before. Now, don't get me wrong, Doom players will still try to use rollouts and combos. It's more fun than spamming punch anyways. But they'll be so ineffective in most cases that you'll see punch used as the primary method of getting kills, likely upwards of 80% of the time now. We like using punch to get kills too, of course, but it's boring when compared to complex and precise movement tricks used in rollouts and combos. Neither strategy should be bad per se, but I think everyone can agree when I say that we prefer if using punch for kills was secondary to using it for mobility. Now that we've established why the punch nerf is problematic, let me offer a few ideas for things Blizzard could do instead to make the hero more enjoyable for both players and enemies alike. First, and the most obvious thing, of course, would be to revert the nerf to Slam's range and its inability to go up slopes. This would bring back a lot of rollouts and combos on its own, and make them at least a viable option for players. The second thing they could, and honestly should do, is instead of nerfing punch's charge time, they give the wall impact damage a sort of fall off, where if the enemy travels a certain distance before hitting a wall, they take less damage. Now, at full charge, Rocket Punch knocks back enemies up to 15 meters and deals 150 damage upon hitting a wall. Visually, enemies begin to slow down from drag after about 7.5 meters. What if the damage from hitting a wall after traveling 7.5 meters was reduced to say 100 damage instead? Now, the last thing I'd want Blizzard to do is something many people may consider minor or even just kinda weird, but I'd want them to increase the volume of the audio cues when Doomfist uses an ability. Many people complain that their biggest issue with the hero is the way that he comes in without warning and kills you despite how loud his audio cues are. If that's still an issue, why not just make them louder? That way, players always know that Doomfist is using his abilities and so they can adjust accordingly. We Doomfist players just want to enjoy playing our hero, and you just all want to find him less frustrating to fight against. Those two things can happen at the same time without sacrificing the other, and I hope I've convinced you today that nerf to punch is only going to make things worse for everyone. That said, Godspeed to you all, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.